Yo, what the heck's going on? It's Tom the mailman checking in. Look, I know you're super busy out there, so I'm only going to waste a little bit of your time. I wanted to let you know that I'm going to be releasing a new series right here on this channel that might help out with your crazy busy schedule. It's going to be dedicated to videos, podcasts, really anything you can find on YouTube. Here's the deal. When I'm out on my route all day, I listen to a ton of stuff. And I also listen to it at twice the speed. So you can imagine how much content I actually go through. So as I'm mining through all this content, I've come across some serious gold. And what do I do with this gold? Well, I put it in my mail bag. At the post office, we actually call it a satchel. That sounds kind of weird, right? I think it sounds a little weird. Anyway, here's where you come back into the picture. I know you don't have time to watch and listen for hours and hours every day. Fortunately, I do. So I'm putting together shorter clips of what I found out there, and I want to deliver them to you. With this series, it's my goal to give you a few chunks of knowledge. It might make you go, it might make you laugh, it might make you cry, get mad, happy, who knows. But hopefully, it gives you a little better insight and outlook, one silly episode at a time. I shot a super rough pilot episode last September and never released it. Got super busy during the holidays and had to deliver a million packages. You remember how busy your mailman was. Bottom line, I feel like I was getting greedy, keeping all that gold to myself. So here it is. Finally, it features Charles Poliquin, Michaela Peterson, and Owen Benjamin. So what does a since deceased bodybuilder, a hot chick who only eats meat, and a 6'7" actor / comedian all have in common? Who knows? You tell me. Check it out. Like the gold. Share the gold. I'm going to take you guys to this podcast called High Intensity Health. Really cool podcast. This dude Charles Poliquin was on this podcast, and he's going over when he travels, certain things in terms of food are a little harder to get to, but I'll let you hear what he has to say. He's basically talking about eating food here in the United States versus traveling abroad. I know the United States gets a lot of shit sometimes for our bad food or whatever, because we're all so fat and disgusting. But here, I'll let you hear what he had to say.
But what I do with my protein intake is I go based on where I am today. So let's say if I go to South Sweden, I really like to eat the type of shrimp they have on their coast. And then if I'm in Spain, I may have boar and rabbit and whatever, but it's important to vary your proteins. So when I'm here in Colorado, I tend to favor bison, elk, yak. I mean, I just bought half a yak and then half a bison. So that's what I like. And then when you eat high quality meat all the time is when you go overseas, you go, oh, okay, that's not meat. Mm-hmm.
So he said, since he's used to eating high quality meat all the time, when he goes overseas, quote unquote, that's not meat. Here we go.
Taste it. Like in England, what they sell you as far as meat is probably recycled hockey pucks. I mean,
in England, what they sell as far as meat goes is probably recycled hockey pucks.
It's like terrible. A, they don't know how to cook, but the quality of the meat is horrendous at best.
A, they don't know how to cook it, and B, it's horrendous at best. Ouch. Ouch.
So even if I go to Sweden, I'm in Stockholm, I will eat deer, or what they call moose, okay? And if I'm in Austria, everywhere I go, I have somebody that will source me the meat. So I found a guy in Switzerland that raises water buffalo, and he makes water buffalo mozzarella. And I tell until this day that either wapiti or yak were the best meat, but I've changed my opinion since last month. Water buffalo is probably the best protein I've ever eaten, as far as taste. And you could tell when you eat it.
So anyway, this guy, he jumps through a lot of hoops to get proper meat and proper food when he travels. So seems like he has a lot of issues out in Europe. But hey man,
it is what it is. All right, next thing I kind of came across was, it's from Joe Rogan. It is from episode 1164 with Michaela Peterson. Michaela Peterson is the daughter of Jordan Peterson. If you've been around the podcast world much, he's made his rounds after that whole controversy with Canada and the gender pronouns and whatever. He's the professor who kind of stood up to that. Anyway, she's the daughter of Jordan Peterson, and she's kind of pushing this like carnivore elimination type diet thing, and they're kind of talking here. I'll let you listen.
Wow, 20 seconds on, 10 second break, 20 seconds on, 10 second break. Phenomenal. Yeah, it's one of the best exercises in terms of cardio.
Huh. I stopped, so
Can you do bike?
I can't really do anything with this ankle. But I did start, yeah, it's a huge pain. I'm going to need to get surgery. I think I'm getting something done in January.
And what are they gonna do?
So basically, bone has grown into the joint. So it's basically fused.
Ooh.
So I just don't have any movement.
Her ankle's
And it kind of
jacked.
hurts. And it doesn't hurt like it hurt when I needed it replaced, but it hurts. So they're going to go in and clean out all the bone and pray that that works.
Jesus.
So that's what my January is going to be.
Does this make you think that, like, if you got on this diet
Yeah.
when you were younger, you could have
Yeah.
avoided all this shit?
This is why I'm not very pleased with the medical community.
Well, how did they know? I mean, they didn't know back then.
But they could have said, I don't know, they could have looked at the celiac thing. Then I would have at least been clued in that gluten was a problem, and maybe just removing that would have been good enough.
Well, it seems that the amount of research that they would have to do, I mean, think about how many different things you had to look at to come to that
Yeah.
conclusion, the time you had to spend.
Yeah, like 3 years.
And,
yeah.
and Canada has public, I mean, you have public health care, right? So it's weird, right?
Yeah.
They're not as motivated.
They're not, it's not,
They're not as motivated. So Canada has like a single payer healthcare system similar to the one that I think a lot of the Democrats wanted to push when Obama was in office. I think Obama was a fan of it. I don't know. I'm not a political guy. But he's saying, he's trying to be polite, saying that they're not motivated. Okay.
not ideal for people with very special problems.
Right. And
It's good for general public.
And it's great if you don't have money and you need to get taken care
Yeah.
of, but they have a lot of people coming in and out, right? It's
Yeah.
constant.
I'm getting the surgery done in North Carolina.
Wow. Just fucking turn you back on Canada, huh?
I could wait around for like 3.5 years for a surgeon that's not as good.
Yeah.
Ouch. Okay, so Rogan says, fucking turn your back on Canada. And then she says, well, she could wait around for 3 years to get the same surgery with a surgeon who's not as good. Nah, that sucks. Again, I don't care about your political leanings or whatever, but if that doesn't tell you about single payer healthcare, well, I mean, whatever. That's pretty funny. Let's see. I had another one here. Oh, it's from this dude. His name's Owen Benjamin. He's a kind of controversial guy, but he shouldn't be. He's a pretty smart guy. He was an actor. He's been in a ton of movies, a bunch of Adam Sandler stuff. He's a comedian now. Kind of a more independent guy, but he's pretty awesome, and he's super funny. If you have a chance to ever check him out because you'll laugh. I think, let's see. This is from his episode 111, Charles Darwin. But he's kind of talking about tenure and teachers, kind of telling a little story. Basically, what he's kind of saying is, it's an interesting take on it. I mean, it might offend people or whatever, but I think it's pretty smart. Let me see if I can find this thing, man. All right, so here we go.
All this stuff, and he just said with a joke and a smile, but with absolute truth, it's not a good way to get tenure. And this is the irony of tenure. Tenure, like right now, George is a very reliable, affectionate, good dog. And he's protective, he's a great dog, but I don't trust him off a leash right now because he's an explorer. He's a Great Pyrenees. They got wanderlust. And there is an unfixed Doberman right down the street, this girl that I know George with his big balls wants to fuck. And so I don't let him off the leash. I will only let him off the leash when I know he won't go down there. And that's tenure. Tenure, they give tenure to professors where basically they can't be fired, but they only do it once they realize they've been neutered. And that's the irony. And I saw that with my dad when I had
So he's saying, look, tenure is supposed to be this great thing. I always thought it was a really cool thing. I mean, my mom's trying to get tenure. But what it essentially is, the way that's supposed to work is after you accomplish all these different, things in your career, whether good, bad, whatever, you're granted this status to where you can't be fired ever, no matter what happens. I mean, maybe there's some Me Too stuff, you probably could get canned pretty quick. But anyway, the way it's supposed to work is you can't get fired. I think mainly for teaching like controversial things. Well, what Owen's saying here is, look, you're only granted tenure after you've been neutered. So essentially, after you've been kind of filtered out, and they're gonna look at you and think, oh, well, this guy, he's not gonna buck the trend. Like he's not going against the grain. He's totally gonna play ball. So let's grant him this tenure, since he's one of the safe ones. I think that's kind of an interesting take on it. I never really looked at it like that. I thought it was more, hey man, this guy, knocked this out, got this done. Let's reward him with tenure. But he's kind of saying, look, it's the neutered teachers that are actually granted this status, this tenure. It's kind of a crazy take, but let's see. Next one I got, it's actually from the Jocko podcast. I don't know if you check out Jocko at all, but Jocko is a beast. He's a former Navy SEAL, and he has the Jocko podcast that he does a couple times a week with his sidekick, Echo Charles. This is from episode 140. And he's kind of talking about like things that are crazy devastating that maybe in the long run aren't so devastating. So check this out.
All glory is fleeting, right? That triumph is going to fade. Triumph isn't an eternal victory, it's an imposter of one. And this is what's important. And this is the one that's harder for people to overcome, is that disaster is the same way. Some things happen to us and it seems like it's the end of the world.
Yeah.
But it's not. Disaster is also an imposter. You know what this happens to? This happens to teenage kids in their little relationships, right? Right?
Yeah.
Teenage kids and their relationships.
Reason I'm laughing, I mean, obviously, I think we've all been through some crazy breakup from our teenage years, and you thought at the time the world was over. I know I did. And to look back at it now, you're like, yeah, that was pretty silly. I wasted a lot of time with that one. So that's why I had to chuckle.
They break up and they think it's the end of the world. And if they only knew that in 3 years they wouldn't even remember that person's name.
Yeah.
They wouldn't even remember that person's name. You could never tell them that.
No.
You can't ever.
It doesn't feel like that.
You couldn't convince them in a million years that in 3 years they will not remember that person's name.
No, not even close.
Not even close.
And all the parents right now are thinking, yeah, man, my stupid son or my stupid daughter, they're crushed out of this jerk guy that, or this, chick did this or whatever. You really can't convince your kid that they're not going to remember this, or that it's not going to be a big deal. They're convinced it's the end of the world.
You cannot. Isn't the mind a crazy thing? Like, you and I both know this factually.
Yeah.
The girlfriend that you had when you were 14 years old, at that time, there was no way that you were ever going to think about another girl. That was the one. Right now, you don't know what her name was.
No.
You barely remember what she looks like.
No.
Come on.
Yeah. No.
But that's what he's saying.
Yeah.
That when that girl breaks up with you, or guy, if you're a girl and the guy that broke your heart, you're not even gonna remember his name. And you know what he's doing now? Not much. Not much. Don't worry about that, dude.
I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. Maybe.
He says, I don't know, maybe. I guess that's a good point. Maybe they are actually the ones doing awesome, and you or your kid is going to be the slacker. And maybe you did miss out. Maybe it was the end of the world for you. Not for them though. All right, guys, that was a few of them that I had going out here. I'll work on getting a couple more. I have a few in the bank. Anyway, this was a nice little run. All right, we'll see you next time. Thanks.
Thanks for watching, guys. I hope it was only about 87% waste of your time. Well, we'll shoot for 86% next time. If there's any content out there you think I should take a look at, please give me some ideas in the comments. Send me a DM here, email here, or you can even leave me a voicemail here. Till next time, I'm clocking off, guys. Keep it first class.